The women, suffering from lack of attention, seduce the Akkadian and disarm him. One of the love priestesses warns the guards about the stranger. Then the king's soldiers break into the harem and attack the unarmed Matthias, who disarms them in hand-to-hand combat and escapes with a huge gong to cover himself from the archer's arrows. Hiding from the guards, Matthias enters the resting place of the seer Cassandra. Despite the girl's attempts to defend herself with a blade, the Akkadian takes her hostage and takes her through the sewage drain of the swimming pool. The mercenary explains to the seer that he has been paid to kill her. However, he plans, with the help of Cassandra, to lure Memnon outside the secure palace. They then leave the city together and are reunited with Arpid. Meanwhile, Memnon sends his crony Thoric with a band of warriors to retrieve the seer and gives him an arrow poisoned with scorpion poison, ordering him to kill the mercenary. That same night, during a halt, Cassandra tries to escape. However, she finds herself tied to the mercenary with a rope. After a brief struggle, the girl tells him that she really hates Memnon because he keeps her close to him by force. She also reveals that it was she who talked the king out of killing the Akkadian, planning to use him as a chance to escape. So Matthias cuts the rope and frees the girl, but she doesn't go anywhere because she realizes that wandering the desert alone is more dangerous than being around a stranger. The next day, Thoric and his squad are on the trail of the fugitives. Matthias tells Cassandra and Arpid to take shelter from the sandstorm, while he lures the Thigs into a cave. Some of the warriors disappear into the quicksand. The rest are attacked and killed one by Akkadian. Matthias then lures Thoric outside and takes advantage of the bad weather to defeat him. However, before he dies, Thoric manages to wound the mercenary with a poisoned arrow. When the storm ends, Cassandra finds a wounded Matthias. The scorpion's venom begins to take effect and he loses consciousness. Later, the sorceress still manages to heal the Akkadian. The next day, he awakens perfectly healthy and sends a message with a falcon for Memnon that he has interrupted his small troop and goes after him. Later, that same falcon is brought to the king with the amulet of the dead warrior chief, and rumors spread among the commanders of the troops about the disappearance of the seer. The cronies begin to question the authority of their ruler, as they are not willing to fight blindly without being assured of a total victory. Meanwhile, Matthias and Cassandra encounter the desert alchemist Philos, who has been experimenting with Chinese gunpowder. He joins the group, but later at one of the oases, they are captured by rebels under the command of the former Nubian king Balthazar. The Nubian leader is about to kill the seer, but Matthias is willing to fight to protect her. Since Balthazar has long been against the Akkadian, he is glad for the opportunity to kill him. But after a duel in which Matthias eventually prevails, they reconcile and unite against their common enemy Memnon. Cassandra falls in love with the Akkadian after all, seeing how he protects her with all his might. Later that evening, while all the people of the village are resting, Cassandra has a disturbing vision. She sees the tyrant's troops suddenly attack the rebels, taking them by surprise and shooting fire arrows at all the men, women, children, and the elderly. She shares her fears with Matthias. The girl also sees that in the fight with Memnon, he must die from an arrow. But Matthias assures her that he is going to make his own destiny, being confident in his abilities. Then, feeling a mutual attraction, they spend the night together. Before dawn, Cassandra takes an Akkadian camel and leaves the village. Learning that Cassandra has left, Matthias, also alone, is about to go to the Gomorrah. But Balthazar stops him and says that he wants to join him in order to go against Memnon together. At this time, the conqueror was having a feast, anticipating another victory. One of the military commanders expressed doubts because the seer had not been seen by the soldiers for a long time and had not personally brought good news. As the situation heats up and the irritated ruler has no arguments to convince the soldiers of his strength, Cassandra suddenly appears in the palace and prophesies a new triumph in battle. Having regained control of the situation with the help of the seer, Memnon assures everyone of the impending success. Memnon then kills the military superior who had questioned his authority. Later, Arpid enters the city in a wagon carrying the girls, ostensibly as a gift to the ruler. The women themselves are trained Nubian warriors who are actually covering for their leader Balthazar. Together, they eliminate the guards at the entrance and infiltrate the palace. Meanwhile, Mateus sneaks through the watchtowers and disarms the sentries in the process. Meanwhile, Memnon, doubting Cassandra's loyalty and believing her to be a traitor, sets her a test. Cassandra must guess in which of the 6 jars the poisonous cobras are hidden. But since Cassandra is a sorceress, she can control the snakes with a spell, and they end up not harming her. However, she herself reveals her rebellion to Memnon and opposes him. Meanwhile, while Balthazar and the Nubian women warriors massacre the guards, Mateus infiltrates the king's resting place. Wanting to avenge his brother's death and protect Cassandra, Mateus engages in a sword fight with him. Meanwhile, Arpid and the alchemist Philos lay sacks of gunpowder under the palace. Memnon waits for the reinforcement of his guards, sets fire to the hall, blocking off the bypasses with fire, and abducts the seeress and leaves. Mateus chases after him by jumping into the fire. Once out in the courtyard, he continues his fight with the tyrant. Memnon uses sneaky techniques and almost defeats the Akkadian, but he still continues to fight. At that moment, one of the king's archers rushes into the courtyard and shoots Cassandra. However, Mateus, covering the girl with himself, is wounded. The seer's disturbing vision of the death of the Akkadian gradually begins to come true. Seeing his vulnerability, Cassandra rushes to his aid, taking a blade in her hands. Meanwhile, the palace itself is surrounded on all sides by an army of warriors, outnumbering the rebels many times over. The guards find and threaten Philos and Arpid, foiling their plans. However, Arpid breaks free and throws a burning torch at the gunpowder sacks. At this time, Mateus, overcoming the pain, finds his bow, takes out an arrow from his back, and shoots it at Memnon.
Catch this.
The stricken tyrant falls straight into the fire. From the explosion of gunpowder in the basement, part of the palace collapses, and many soldiers of the defeated ruler's army are killed. After all this, Cassandra is reunited with Mateus. The rest of Memnon's troops and guards, seeing the victor of the tyrant beside the seer, recognize the Akkadian as their new king. Sometime later, the Nubian leader Balthazar bids farewell to Mateus and returns to his domain. Cassandra says she is happy to be the wife of the new king and hints that she has not lost her sorceress powers even after entering into a relationship with him. Cassandra prophesies peace and prosperity in the future. The end.